The Australian Children's Television Foundation and Tropfest Foundation respectfully acknowledge the custodians of the lands we are on today, the Wurundjeri people of the Eastern Kulin Nation, and we extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples across Australia.
We honour their continuing cultures and connections to the land, waters and skies, and pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging. Filmmaking is a way of sharing stories.
We recognise that the first storytellers and educators of these lands have always been First Nations peoples, and their knowledge and skills continue to shape storytelling across generations, including on screen.
Welcome to our Trop Jr professional learning event. We're so excited to have you joining us today. I'm Bridget and I'm the Education Manager at the ACTF. And joining me today is Katie, who is not only a member of our education team, but also an award-winning short filmmaker, which makes her the perfect person to have with us as we discuss Trop Jr today.
Well, thanks very much, Bridget. We're so delighted to be partnering with Tropfest Foundation on Trop Jr, particularly in supporting schools and classrooms. This session has been designed to guide educators through the Trop Jr filmmaking process.
That's it. So we're going to walk you through Trop Jr, our free step-by-step resource and the teacher guide. And we're going to share how you can use these tools and tips in your classroom. And by the end of the session, our hope is that you feel supported, inspired, and ready to bring Trop Jr to life with your students.
That sounds great. To get started, let's hear an introduction from Tropfest founder John Paulson.
Hey everyone and welcome. I'm John Paulson, founder of Tropfest, and I'm coming at you live from set here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's fantastic to know there are so many teachers here today. Thank you for the incredible work you do supporting young people's creativity, confidence, and voices. For those new to it, Tropfest is the world's largest short film festival, and Trop Jr is our program for filmmakers 15 years old and under. Trop Jr is all about giving young people a chance to tell stories that matter to them, using film as a powerful creative tool. One thing I love about Trop Jr is how naturally it fits into the classroom. It builds literacy, teamwork, and critical thinking, all while helping students see themselves as storytellers. I've seen classrooms come alive when kids realize their ideas truly matter. I'm excited to share this year's signature item for Trop Jr, which is MAP. And I can't wait to see how students interpret it in their own unique ways. Thank you again for being here. Can't tell you how much we appreciate your support. I'll hand you over to the brilliant team at the ACTF now. Please enjoy the session, and I look forward to seeing the stories your students create. I'll see you later.
Thanks very much, John. As John said, Trop Jr is Australia's largest short film festival for anyone 15 years and under. But there are a few rules to the competition. Short films must be less than 5 minutes. This includes the opening and closing titles. The films must include Trop Jr's signature item or TSI. So for 2026, the TSI is MAP. Everything in your film must be your own original work, or you must have the permission to use it. For example, all music, images, footage, and sound. And generative AI is not permitted for Trop Jr. We want young filmmakers to work on their own problem-solving skills as they learn the fundamentals of storytelling and production. The films will be selected by a panel of judges based on originality and creativity, storytelling, the use of the Trop Jr signature item, technical achievement, and entertainment value. It's all about creativity and storytelling, not big budgets or fancy equipment. We want students to be bold and original in their filmmaking. A few key dates are up on the screen right now, as well as on our website, which will be updated regularly, so please keep an eye out.
Thanks, Katie. Before exploring the resources, I think it would help to understand why short filmmaking and Trop Jr. in particular can be such a valuable addition to the classroom. So, short filmmaking is a really powerful way to engage students through storytelling. It supports curriculum outcomes, student voice and agency, and students' creative confidence. And it gives young people the opportunity to express their thoughts and feelings and explore perspectives in ways that feel relevant to their lived experience. We know that students commonly reach for their camera or their phone to document their lives. And by teaching them the skills and knowledge needed to create meaningful and impactful short films, this allows us as teachers to help transform students' everyday media habits into more purposeful creative practice. So filmmaking develops collaboration and communication and creative problem solving while students are working in production teams, and it also strengthens their screen media literacies. We know that these are critical literacies to being active and informed citizens in today's society. So when making a short film, these critical literacies come to life and they shift learners from not just consumers to creators as they make more purposeful choices about how stories are both shaped and then how they're shared as well. Media literacy is a two-way process that includes this consumer element, which is that critical analysis, reading and analysing a screen text, and the producer element or the creator element, where they work in the creative production, so they're creating a screen text. There's a huge, strong body of research that supports the value of creative media production in education. And I just wanted to briefly highlight a few key researchers and thinkers that are working in this space, and we'll get them up on screen for you. David Buckingham is one. He explores how media education is not simply about teaching students to read media text critically, but also enabling them to write and produce their own. And that it is through this creative production that students gain the insight into how media texts are constructed and how they generate meanings. Another researcher is Renee Hobbs. Her work outlines that students who create media develop a deeper understanding of how media messages are shaped, framed, and produced. And lastly, Byrne and Duran's research explains how making films is a form of media literacy. It enables learners to understand how images, sound, and narrative work together by engaging them directly in the process of selection, construction, and representation. So these sources are on screen for those interested in exploring further. And Trop Jr. builds on this research. So it offers students an authentic, creative way to develop literacy skills while also telling stories that matter to them. What we're going to do is share on screen now is some photos from past Trop Jr. events. And you can see the real joy in the young people's faces and a clear sense of pride in knowing their stories have been seen and celebrated through a large platform. For many students, having their ideas taken seriously and shared with a wider audience is a powerful affirmation of their voice and creativity. A key strength of Trop Jr. is also the clear parameters. We're teachers, so we love some rules. The under 5-minute format and the Trop Jr. signature item keep learning focused and achievable. And in this case, boundaries provide clarity, not limitations. So it helps students develop intention in their storytelling. Sitting alongside the competition, we've created a bunch of free resources that are flexible and responsive to the realities of the school setting. They can be scaled up or down to suit your students, their experience level and yours, and the time you have available. A short filmmaking unit can run across a full term, be delivered over several focus days, or even sit within an existing learning area, such as science or a history unit. It could also operate as a lunchtime film club, a targeted extension project, or a supported option for students that have a strong interest in film and television. We find that filmmaking is also a really good fit for those who are disengaged in traditional writing tasks. We often find that script writing brings writing to life for students who are not usually keen. Trop Jr. also works equally well as a whole class project or students breaking a class up into small groups of students as production teams, or even individual students who you could pass on the competition to and they might like to follow up and create something at home. We've designed the resource and competition to be accessible for teachers at all levels of experience as well. So if you're new to filmmaking and storytelling on screen, do not worry. We are here to support you. The resource has also been written to be used as tandem learning, so you can develop your skills and knowledge in collaboration with your students as you make your films. So on that, I'll switch back with Katie and we'll take a look at these education resources.
Without further ado, this is the Trop Jr resource. It is a step-by-step guide designed to support teachers, students, and young storytellers on their filmmaking journey. The resource was created for students in years 5 to 10. However, any filmmaker aged 15 years and under is eligible to submit an entry, regardless of the school year level. We're just getting started with this resource and it will be updated throughout the year, so please keep an eye out for more tips and tricks and information. So how do you get an idea for a screen story? This is covered in the first section of the resource, Getting Started. On this page, we walk teachers and students through how to spark and brainstorm ideas. We've included story prompts, ideas on how to structure a creative brainstorm session, and a worksheet student can use to turn their ideas into a simple and clear story. While filmmakers can make a film by themselves, we think it's more fun and collaborative to create a short film in small groups or even as a class. Filmmaking is a collaborative art form and it's all about sharing and mixing ideas, so the more brains, the better. We've included potential roles students can take on or double up on to bring a screen story to life. Now that we've got a rough story, we move into pre-production. This stage of filmmaking covers script development, script writing, and organising the logistics of a film shoot. To help students flesh out their idea, we've created a script development worksheets that they can use to map out their story. Once the idea is fleshed out, we move on to script writing, and we've broken down this stage and provided definitions on the 3 main script writing elements, as well as linked 2 resources that we've produced in the past, which delves more into how to format a screenplay, examples of professional scripts from shows like Little Lunch, and how teams can work together to write a story. Filmmaking is an audiovisual medium, so it's important to keep in mind what the stories might look like on screen right from the very start. In the visual storytelling tools section, we explore things like the different types of camera angles, framing techniques, and how these might be used to tell the story, set the mood, and show the audience who the characters are. Students are encouraged to plan and visualize their story using the storyboard worksheet, which is included on this page. Organizing the logistics of a film shoot can be overwhelming, so we've outlined things to keep in mind, DIY filmmaking tips, and a short list worksheets to help filmmakers and their teachers go into production feeling confident. We want to really highlight that you don't need the fanciest equipment to make a great film. Problem solving is a major part of filmmaking, even on a professional scale. So we've included tips and tricks on DIY filmmaking that allow students to focus on what they have access to and not what they don't. These include things like prompts on how filmmakers might use everyday objects to dress up a set, how to use a desk lamp and a plastic folder to change the color of the light, or how to use a skateboard and a wheelie chair to create a smooth tracking shot. Now that we've developed an idea and planned the shoot, we're ready for production. This stage of the resource is split into 2 sections, live action and animation. Both pages follow the same 3 stages: getting ready, filmmaking, and reviewing. We've included practical filmmaking tips and prompts to help students know what to focus on during the shoot. One of my favorite features, though, is the on-set calls. These are the same calls used on professional film sets, so students can practice working in an on-set environment that feels authentic and mirrors a real-world production. The final stage of filmmaking is post-production. This is one of the most important parts of the process because it is where the story really starts to come together. Even if the students have captured beautiful shots or perfect animation frames, it's the way these pieces are arranged in the edit that shapes how the audience feels and understands the story. As with earlier stages, we've broken down post-production into clear steps with simple definitions and key things to keep in mind at each point. There are also drop-downs that unpack different editing and sound design techniques, along with examples of how they can be used to support storytelling. We also had a few questions about which editing softwares to use, so we've included a range of program options. These cover different device and skill levels and support both live action and animation projects. This is exactly the type of resource that I would have loved to have when I was 12 and discovering screen stories for the first time. The short films that I made then will never and should never see the light of day, but creating these films helped me explore my identity, creative voice, and a passion for filmmaking that I'm still chasing today, all while having the best time with my friends. This resource allows students to think deeper about their creative voice. What do they have to say, and what story do they want to tell? And how different visual and audio techniques can be used together to create a cohesive story on screen.
Thanks, Katie. We're really, really proud of all these resources. So sitting alongside the classroom resource is a comprehensive teacher guide, which includes practical planning and assessment tools. We'll get that on screen for you now. We have these curriculum-aligned rubrics that are designed specifically for classroom use and set clear expectations for students at different year levels. They're linked to the Australian Curriculum version 9. They support both formative and summative assessment, and they can also be shared with your students through their guiding to guide their planning and also to guide self-reflection throughout their production process. The rubrics focus on storytelling, originality, technical skills, and creative decision-making, which is the criteria against which their films are judged, rather than that polished production value. The teacher guide also supports teachers by clearly demonstrating how Trop Jr meets curriculum requirements across the Australian Curriculum version 9, including the arts, media arts, English, and the general capabilities. Detailed curriculum tables are included in this teacher guide, and they map years 5 to year 10 across these different areas. So in media arts, students explore how media is created and communicated through screen text, and then apply this understanding through the production of their own film. In English, they develop skills in storytelling, language choices, and audience awareness, which strengthens their ability to craft purposeful and engaging narratives. And the short filmmaking process is also embedded in general capabilities such as critical and creative thinking, as students collaborate, problem solve, and reflect on ethical and aesthetic decisions. I always struggle with that word. Obviously, there's a lot more connections in there to the curriculum, and broader interdisciplinary connections can be found through ACARA's Media Consumers and Creators Curriculum Connection, and we'll drop the link to that in the chat for you now. That's enough on the teacher guide. Let's talk about the free virtual student events that we have coming up, because I'm very excited about these.
Over the next few months, we will be hosting 3 Trop Jr masterclasses featuring past Trop Jr winners. The 2 filmmakers that are already confirmed are Charlotte McClafferty, who was the 2019 Trop Jr finalist, and Yanni Rollins, who was the 2016 Trop Jr winner. Each masterclass will be divided into 2 parts. Part 1 is a live Q&A with past Trop Jr winners, where students will hear directly from the filmmakers about how Trop Jr influenced their creative pathways, their filmmaking process today, and their DIY filmmaking tips for young people starting out. We'll also be using their Trop Jr winning shorts as case studies and chat through how each filmmaker used what they had around them or used creative solutions to get their stories across on screen. For part 2, we've asked Charlotte and Yanni to film themselves creating, shooting, and editing a very simple DIY filmmaking scene. In these videos, Charlotte and Yanni will talk us through their process, so shot listing, storyboarding, etc., as well as they'll take us behind the scenes to show their DIY filmmaking setup at home. These videos will give students ideas on how they can recreate film setups at home or in the classroom, as well as see what the short filmmaking process might look like in action.
All right, we're both back. It's question time. Please add all of your questions into the chat now. So just so you know, only we can see your questions. Everything else will remain anonymous. So please feel free to ask anything that you think would be helpful. What we're going to also do is put a link in the chat to a short feedback survey. So this will take less than 2 minutes to complete. So if you don't have any questions, you can do the survey, and we'll turn off our screen so we can just have a read through your questions, and then we'll come back in just a minute so that we can answer them all for you. We'll see you in a minute. All right, thanks everyone for submitting your questions. We've had a few come in. One of the first ones that's come through is, can teachers and parents help? Katie's going to answer this one.
And yes, the simple answer is yes, they can help, but in a supporting and guiding capacity. So the ideas must come from the students, the editing must be done by the students, etc., etc. But teachers and parents and guardians can help.
That's correct. Yeah. So we really want adults to support and guide students through that process, similarly to the way that the resource is built. Yeah. So just directing them to the right space in the resource to find the answers that they need is probably a good way to frame it.
Yeah.
We had another question. Katie's going to read this one out for me.
Yes, we've had a question come through. How can you keep all the students in a group engaged during the post-production process? I find that one students end up controlling the editing while the others look on.
This is a really good question, because when I did teach media arts in schools, this was a common problem. Maybe a production team of 4 or 5 students, and one kid would be headphones on, editing, focused, and all the other students would be mucking around. I've been able to counter this in a few different ways. One of them is to always making sure that they're working as a team for creative decisions, which I know can be really tricky in a classroom setting. So making sure they're always going back to their storyboard, back to their script. Are they keeping true to their original idea? Something I've also done with students is broken up a film, and different students or pairs will edit different sections of the film and then come back together. I've also had students working in production teams edit the same scene. So they all get the same footage, they edit the same scene, and then they choose which one of those edits they want to use in their film. So that's a really good way of keeping all the students engaged, so long as you have enough computers to support them. Another thing that you could do at that stage is, while some students are doing the editing, others could look at your marketing campaign. How are they going to be sharing the story and the film that they've created to the school community, and getting it noticed for Trop Jr as well. Okay, what's our next question?
Our next question, do you have a parent consent form that needs to be submitted for student entries?
This is a really great question, because we've been talking with Trop about this already. There will definitely be some form of consent form, obviously, because the people entering this competition are under the age of 18. So there will be a guardian or parent consent form that will need to be signed. It'll probably happen at the stage that films have been selected to be finalists, because that means their film will be shown at the grand final events in November, and it will probably be at that stage that we then get permission forms signed by parents and things like that. But I do understand that teachers probably need that earlier on, especially if there's actors, young actors in the film. So we'll look into that for you and try and get those kind of permission forms readily available over the next month or so that you can access them during production as well. Yeah. Do we have any other questions?
We've got a final one. Are Creative Commons acceptable to use, e.g. for music or sound effects?
Yes, as long as you are using things that are free to use, or if it's Creative Commons, just following the license or guidelines that are outlined. So sometimes you might have to be crediting a source, but yeah, just making sure that that's really clear. You can absolutely use free to use content, just making sure that it's credited appropriately. Is there anything else to add there? Obviously get kids to create their music and things like that if you can, though, because it's so easy and it always makes it 100% better. Like that's something you could do at the editing stage as well. If one student is doing the editing, the other could be on GarageBand making the soundtrack for your own film. That's right. So I think there's lots of really awesome ways that you can build that in and getting something really original and amazing for your students. I think that's all the questions we've got, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Thank you so much. They were really great questions and really relevant to discussions we've been having about making sure that Trop Jr and short filmmaking is a really accessible thing for teachers to use in the classroom. It often feels a lot more than a competition. I know this is a bit lame to say, but it feels like it's something that supports really deep learning and student agency and that critical and creative thinking that we want to encourage in young people today. So I'm really excited for all of you in your classroom. Sometimes it makes me want to go back and teach in a classroom to provide this space for young people to use their imagination, build their skills in filmmaking, but also storytelling, which is so key in this space. And we hope the framework that we've provided through the teacher guide and the resource are able to help you through that process. We are available. You can email us at education@actf.com.au at any point if you have any questions or if you need a hand with anything. We are very much available, as is the brilliant Tropfest Foundation team. But we just want to take a moment now to say thank you so much for your time and for being part of today's session with us. And we can't wait to watch the films that your students create.
Yeah.
That's it. See you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.